Hi, I'm Gidon from thetechnologyman.com. The Anker PowerHouse 767 has three 2300 watt AC outlets, super fast 2200 watt mains charging, three 100 watt USB power delivery outputs, and a 2048 watt hour long lasting LifePo battery, expandable to 4096 watt hours with an additional battery. There's an app to control it remotely and it has some clever carry options. You can check its current price and any offers down below. These power stations are perfect for emergency power, camping or in your campervan, DIY, travel and festivals, and around the house and out and about to charge all your tech. And the Anker 767 can charge it up to 1000 watts off solar panels alone when mains isn't available. I'll run through all its capabilities and thoroughly test all its claims to help you decide if this is the right power station for you. And towards the end of the video, I'll compare it to other similar power stations I've tested. So let's take a closer look. The power station arrived on a pallet which I wasn't expecting, but did ensure it arrived all perfectly intact. Inside the box you get the power station itself and an accessories bag containing the mains cable, a car charging cable and a solar charging cable. It's such a small thing to include a bag like this for your accessories, but very useful. There's also a user manual. You'll generally need two hands to lift the power station. It weighs just over 30 kilograms with its huge 2048 watt hour LFP or LifePo battery. This is well over twice the weight of EcoFlow's 1024 watt hour Delta 2 I looked at recently, and even a little heavier than the 2000 watt hour Bluetti AC200P. Both these units also come with the same longer lasting LFP batteries. These LFP batteries are heavier than equivalent typical lithium-ion batteries, but have a far longer working life. Anker quotes up to 3000 charge cycles, equivalent to 10 years of use approximately, compared to around 500 cycles for a typical NMC lithium-ion battery, based on nickel, manganese and cobalt. They back this up with a 5-year warranty. The Anker does have two decent sized 12cm wheels and a long telescopic carry handle, which makes moving it around very easy. I like how Anker spec the wheels capable of 125 miles of travel, something I've not yet been able to test. The build quality is very good, made almost entirely of a hard plastic. It looks like it could take a few knocks, and Anker encouragingly claims it has a unibody drop-proof design, but it has no weatherproof rating, just like every power station I've reviewed so far. I would have at least liked a protective cover included, like you got with the slightly smaller Anker 757 I've also reviewed. The power station has a maximum output of a whopping 2300 watts, making it the most powerful power station I've tested. This is the UK version. The US version is rated even higher at 2400 watts. It should be able to power most items you can run off a standard AC socket in your home. Anker provides various examples on their website of what you could run, from a portable fridge to a microwave to an electric chainsaw. I'll be testing it to its limits shortly. The front of the unit has a large display with a button to toggle the display on and off. There's also a button to turn Bluetooth and the power saving mode on and off. Above the display is a floodlight, also with its own power button, which also cycles through its various modes. This UK version has three 2300 watt AC sockets with a dedicated power button, two 12 watt car sockets with their own power button, and 5 USB outputs which are always on. The AC sockets are quite closely spaced but cope fine with most larger oversized plugs I tried. The US version has four 2400 watt AC outlets and a TT30 RV outlet. The three USB-C ports all support up to 100 watts USB power delivery to charge all the latest tech, including many laptops. The two standard USB sockets don't support any fast charging standard like Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, maxing out at 12 watts. If I was being picky, I'd want at least one of the USB-C ports to support 140 watts to charge more powerful laptops like the 16-inch MacBook Pro and future-proof something you'll have for a long time. Like the Anker 757, there aren't any DC 5521 3V DC outputs you see on most portable power stations. I don't think this is much of an issue for most people. You can let me know down below if it's something you find useful. Around the back there's a combined solar and car XT60 input, the mains charging port and the overload protection switch. There's also a proprietary socket to connect to the optional 2048 watt hour expansion battery. This battery is still quite expensive, you can see the current price down below, but it will double the capacity of the power station. The top of the unit is flat for the expansion battery, but is also handy to place your tech while it's charging. Unfortunately there's no wireless charging pads. You can charge the power station with a mains cable, from a car outlet with a supplied car socket plug to XT60 cable, or via solar with optional solar panels. Although the unit has three USB-C ports, they are only outputs. You can't use them to charge the unit like on the EcoFlow River 2 Max I just reviewed. The Anker PowerHouse 767 can charge its 2048 watt hour battery off mains at up to 2200 watts. and you just need a standard IEC mains cable, often called a kettle lead in the UK. You can use any kettle lead, but ensure it has a 10 amp fuse. At full charging speed, you'll blow any plug with a 3 amp or 5 amp fuse. With the unit fully discharged, I charged the unit with the supplied mains cable. I did see speeds ramp up to just under 2,200 watts, and after 30 minutes it had 39% charge. After 1 hour it was just under 80% charge, and it was fully charged in 1.5 hours. Even at these high charging speeds, the unit remained cool. I checked with the FLIR thermal imaging camera, but the accompanying smartphone app also displays internal temperatures. Anker's smart temperature control appears to do a pretty good job. But if you're not in any rush, you can reduce charging speeds in the app all the way down to 200 watts. Reducing the charging speeds may be better for the battery's health longer term. It's also very quiet charging compared to other units I've tested. 1 metre from the front of the unit I measured 49 decibels charging at full speed. That's around 13 decibels louder than background noise and 10 decibels quieter than the EcoFlow Delta 2. You can definitely hear it, but it's quite bearable. This will vary with ambient temperatures. Reducing the charging speed does noticeably bring the variable fan speed and accompanying noise right down. The large 2-colour display is bright and clear and shows information on remaining charge time when it's charging and remaining runtime when it's powering your devices. This estimate is adjusted in real time depending on input or output power. There's also the battery capacity displayed graphically and as a percentage, and icons that illuminate to show which ports are in use. This information and more is also available in the app, which connects over Bluetooth. Unlike the EcoFlow units I've tested, there's no Wi-Fi, which means you can't monitor the unit remotely over cellular with a power station connected over your Wi-Fi network. You need to be close to the unit to maintain the Bluetooth connection. I've already mentioned a few settings you can change in the app. You can also set a timer on the AC outlets, perhaps to turn a heater off after 50 minutes, and you can also toggle the power saving mode, control the built-in floodlight, and adjust the screen timeout and update the firmware. The unit charges at around 110 watts with the supplied cable via a 12 volt car outlet, so a full charge would take over 20 hours. You could charge faster if your car has a 24 volt output, which I confirm with my bench power supply charging the Anker 767 at just under 10 amps or 225 watts. This XT60 DC port supports up to a 60 volt input at 20 amps or 1000 watts via solar charging, which is huge, more than the maximum 700 watts input of the Wh AC200P. Although the 60 volts will be the limiting factor if you want to connect your panels in series, where you add together the solar panels' voltages. The Wh unit supports up to 150 volts, which is more flexible, but at a lower 12 amp maximum. To achieve the 1000 watt solar charging, you really need 5 of Anker's 531 200 watt solar panels, which conveniently connect by the supplied solar charging cable to the XT60 DC input. These cost £550 each, so this would be an extremely expensive way to charge the power station. These Anker panels have an operating voltage of 48 volts, around double the voltage of nearly all the solar panels I've tested and have to hand. The supplied 5-way solar charging cable connects them in parallel, which keeps the voltage constant at 48 volts, but multiplies the current to get the full 20 amps and 1000 watts of output. I don't have any Anker panels to test, but initially tried using 3 Bluetti SP120 120 watt panels connected in series. These 3 panels in series were over the 60 volt limit of the Anker, and an abnormal voltage error was displayed in the app. So I had to connect them in parallel using these adapters. You'll need to purchase these adapters from Amazon or eBay. I'll provide links down below. And it's arguably even easier connecting multiple panels with these adapters once you have them. But at lower voltages, from 11 to 32 volts, the Anker PowerHouse 767 only supports 10 amps maximum. So with these 24 volt panels, you won't be able to get anywhere near 1000 watts. You'll be limited to around 240 watts. In early spring, on a fairly overcast day with a few sunny spells, I did manage to get 200 watts with this setup, albeit briefly. It was very windy, so I had to lay the panels flat. I may have got a little more with them positioned at an angle. On a sunny day, you'd be able to charge the Anker 767 in around 10 to 12 hours, even with this setup. To charge the unit faster, you need to invest in Anker's panels or find some cheaper panels with an open circuit voltage over 32 volts. These panels could then be connected in parallel to try and achieve the maximum 1000 watts, with a higher 20 amp limit that kicks in between 32 and 60 volts. The Anker PowerHouse 767 has a very beefy 2300 watt inverter that can power most items around the house with its 3 AC outlets. All these outlets have a pure sine wave output, which I confirm with a graphical multimeter. This is important for sensitive electronics. As I mentioned briefly earlier, the US version has 4 2400 watt AC outlets. Unusually, Anker doesn't quote the unit's surge or peak output, and I couldn't get an answer when I asked Anker directly. But I was able to boil water in a kettle, probably one of the most demanding household items, with the power station running at over 2,500 watts. And it ran other items with heating elements without any difficulty, including a hairdryer, toaster, heat gun and a 2 kilowatt electric heater. Out in the workshop, it ran my 2.5 kilowatt space heater, and I could run most power tools with universal motors, including a Bosch 1800 watt sliding miter saw, and it ran a small air compressor. But it really struggled with any machines with induction motors, which have a very high initial load at turn on. It just about ran my record BS350 14-inch bandsaw, but failed to run my Shepak TS2000 table saw and a Karcher 2100 watts K5 pressure washer that both also have induction motors. I did notice it was quite hard to overload the AC outlets. If you do exceed the output of the inverter, it will briefly surge to around 3000 watts, but then it will drop the output voltage to keep the overall output within its limits. You can see with these energy monitoring plugs how the voltage drops when I plug in a 1750 watt heat gun with a 2000 watt electric heater already running. I had to also run a 1550 watt hairdryer to actually overload the unit. EcoFlow power stations do the same thing with their X-Boost feature, but it can be disabled with their company app. Strangely, this isn't clearly mentioned in Anker's marketing information, and there's no way I can see to disable it. Their marketing mentions powering demanding devices up to 3600 watts without overloading the power station, but not how this is achieved. This shouldn't be a problem with devices like this with heating elements, but I'd be concerned about plugging in more sensitive electronics if they'll exceed the power station's real inverter limit. I noticed exactly the same functionality with the Anker PowerHouse 757. When the power station was at full load, it did get noisy. I measured around 60 decibels, 24 decibels above background noise. The fans did keep the unit very cool, close to room temperature. With the power station under around 1500 watts, the fan noise was barely noticeable, just a few decibels over background noise 1 metre away. Again, this will vary with ambient temperatures. The Anker PowerHouse 767 has a clever smart AC plug feature, which will turn off the AC subsystem after 15 minutes if it detects nothing is plugged in, even with the power saving mode disabled. You can set a manual timer on the AC socket, but you can't set automatic timeouts on the AC and DC subsystems like you can on the EcoFlow unit. With power saving mode on, the unit will shut off the AC and DC subsystems if they're not in use. With power saving mode disabled and a device plugged in, I measured a 22% drop in capacity in 12 hours. That's around 1.8% an hour. So you must remember to turn off the AC subsystem, unplug any devices, or just turn on power saving mode. But don't have power saving mode turned on with devices that draw low power or intermittent power like a portable fridge or CPAP machine. I tested the 12 watt DC car outputs at their full 10 amp output with a load tester. Ramping this up to 12 amps triggered the current overload protection and the DC subsystem turned off. I left this subsystem on for 24 hours and the battery lost around 4% capacity. The Delta 2 had no measurable drain with a similar test, but still, as I've discussed before in other power station reviews, if you have tech that can run directly off DC, it makes more sense to try and use these ports, especially something like a portable fridge that only uses power intermittently. I tested the USB ports charging another portable power station at the full 100 watts output of the USB-C ports. The standard USB-A ports I tested with a USB load tester and got their rated 12 watt output, but no more. The Anker PowerHouse 767 also has a very useful UPS, or uninterruptible power supply feature. When the power station is charging off mains, any mains devices you plug in will bypass the power station and run directly off mains until there's a power cut, when they'll switch across to the power station's battery. Anker quotes a 20 millisecond switchover, one of the quickest transfer times I've seen on one of these power stations. They're usually 30 milliseconds. It was plenty fast enough for a desktop computer, but just be careful running anything that requires instantaneous or less than a 5 millisecond transfer time, like some servers. All ports support pass-through charging, so it can be used whilst the unit is charging. Finally, I measured the usable capacity of the 2048 watt-hour built-in battery. I ran a heater via an energy monitoring plug at around 1000 watts until the power station turned off. The heater ran for 1 hour 51 minutes and consumed 1801 watt-hours. Power stations like this will always have conversion losses, and anything over 80% is pretty good. The Anker works out at 1801 watt-hours divided by 2048 watt-hours, which is around 88% and a good result. I did a similar test using the DC output with a 10 amp electronic load attached. I measured 1572 watt-hours, which is a slightly disappointing 77% efficiency. The Anker PowerHouse 767 is more expensive than their smaller 757 variant I looked at recently, but has a far more powerful inverter, a considerably larger capacity battery and a company app, so something missing on the 757. Plus the hand and wheels do make it much more portable, even though it weighs around 10 kilograms more. It feels well made, with its long battery life and 5-year warranty should definitely be on your shortlist if you're after a power station with these kinds of specs. I would like some control over how it handles devices that overload the unit by dropping its output voltage, and I would have preferred a wider voltage range for solar charging, for a more flexible choice of solar panels. I was also a little disappointed that it couldn't power most of the machinery I tried with induction motors, even though they were under its 2300 watt inverter limit. But neither could the Wh AC200P with a 2000 watt inverter and a 4800 watt peak. Induction motors can pull up to 5 times their rated power at startup, which is the issue here, but I'd like to see power stations at this price point have this capability in the future. It is possible Vestal's power station doesn't cost that much more and has 18,000 watts of short-term power specifically to handle induction motors. You can expand the Anker PowerHouse 767 to 4096 watt-hours with the expansion battery, which is great. The internal battery is not user replaceable, just like all the power stations I've looked at, including the EcoFlow Delta 2. The Delta 2 only has a 1024 watt-hour battery, but is expandable to 3040 watt-hours. Its inverter is a little less powerful too, at 1800 watts, but it's around half the price of the Anker and only weighs 12 kilograms. If you add the smaller expansion battery, it's still cheaper than the Anker with the same capacity, and it'll still weigh considerably less. But many will prefer the convenience of having everything in one unit with the Anker. I've not tested EcoFlow's Delta Max, but that's probably the most similar unit to the Anker in their range, but doesn't have a long-lasting LFP battery as things stand. Overall, the Anker PowerHouse 767 is one of the most impressive power stations I've tested, with super fast charging, a very powerful inverter, a long-lasting battery with a huge capacity, and useful extra features, like the accompanying app and the clever carry options. It has plenty of potential uses and would be perfect as an emergency power solution for your home. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you looking for in a power station? Does the Anker have everything you'd want at this price point? Or is there another model you'd like me to look at? Let me know down below. As always, if you have any questions, please ask. I read every comment and will do my best to respond. I do hope you found this video useful. Please like the video if you did. I'm releasing videos every week on the latest technology and how to get the most out of it, so please make sure you subscribe. And don't forget to tap the bell icon if you want to get notified as soon as a new video gets uploaded. Thanks for watching.